Okay, it is Monday, February 3rd. We had possibly the craziest trade in NBA history. Then we had another massive trade go down last night in basketball. After weeks of speculation, JT Miller has a new home. Jack Flaherty, late last night, signed somewhere. So we have much to get to on this Monday morning. This is the Early Game Podcast. Listen to the show in the mornings on your commute, whenever and wherever, so you can be a part of today's sports conversations. Let's go. Okay, so yesterday we had the emergency podcast. Just 5 minutes, instant reaction to the big trade, the crazy trade that happened late Saturday night, Sunday morning. Wow. I mean, there is truly only one word to describe how I'm feeling about that trade still, over a day later, and it is wow. This is the craziest trade in recent memory. This is the craziest trade ever. It may be the biggest trade of all time. In any sport. Not trying to be hyperbolic. This was from Hembo, Paul Hembakaitis, History Extraordinaire. This was the tweet. Most seismic player-for-player trades. He ranked them. 5. Alex Rodriguez for Alfonso Soriano 2004. 4. Peter Forsberg for Alec Lindros 1992. 3. Roger Hornsby for Frank Frisch 1926. 2. Champ Bailey for Clinton Portis 2004. 1. Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis 2025. What am I missing? He's not wrong. Not that I know. Not that I can recall the Rogers Hornsby for Frankie Frisch trade of 1926. Not that I can really recall that at all. He is not wrong, though, that this was the craziest, the most seismic player-for-player trade in sports history. I think about it like this. Had the Lakers traded Anthony Davis in a deal that was headlined by him only, people would have went insane. But the fact it's Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis involved in this trade, it's just bananas. Most people, when this trade went down, were asleep. I woke up Sunday morning and I could not believe what I saw. In today's age of X or Twitter, we don't see trades like this with this dynamic happen anymore. We don't see trades like this with zero precursor, where there were zero rumblings or rumors. Nobody had this. Nobody thought in their wildest dreams that this was a possibility. In today's NBA, we treasure superstars. We don't only treasure superstars, but a big-ish market like the Mavs, like Dallas, should be able to keep their superstars forever. And I'll go a step further. These big-ish markets certainly don't trade them away. Whether they leave in free agency, that's a different story. There is certainly precedent for that. KD and Kyrie most recently come to mind. But if the player's not disgruntled, we don't see this. It's just unprecedented for a player in Luka's situation to get traded so randomly, so out of the blue. At least in our eyes, at least from a public's perspective, for it to seem so random, this doesn't happen often. Or at all for that matter anymore. I can't remember, again, I cannot remember an instance like this, ever. And the reaction on X was just as crazy. People legitimately could not believe that this happened when it did. They thought Shams was hacked. I was watching this video. There was this great video from some Denver Nuggets podcast where they go 6 minutes thinking Shams was hacked. He has to have been hacked. It's a good litmus test for the fairness of a trade is if people think that the account that breaks the news is hacked. Good way of evaluating it. Side point. This was Shams' coming out party. I mean, if Woj was still around and broke this news, it would have been the greatest. It would have been one of Woj's top Woj bombs ever. And Shams now will be remembered forever for this tweet. This was a career-defining moment for Shams Charania. It's as simple as that. Not that he hasn't been amazing before this, but this was career-defining for him. But anyways, Shams had the news at 12:12 early Sunday morning. As I said, people didn't believe him at all. I mean, NBA players weren't believing him. Jalen Brunson tweeted, "April Fools, right?" Alex Caruso, "Nah, Shams gotta be hacked." Tyrese Maxey, "Huh?" Josh Hart, "Huh?" Joel Embiid, "Wow, no F way." By the way, I don't think Joel has any standing in having an opinion on this. And I think it's funny. Next to his Twitter account, he still has the Paris Olympics. I think he's still there. I don't think he's left Paris yet. I haven't seen him in America, so it's possible he's still there. And yes, this trade was highway robbery by the Lakers. If you don't see that, get an eye test. I can give you a referral. Or get your brain checked out. One contrarian in this whole thing was Kendrick Perkins. He tweeted, "Dallas won this trade. AD and Kyrie are going to be special. Plus, they didn't have to give up Lively, Gafford, or PJ Washington. God bless America." God bless America is true. But this was the minority opinion. In fact, he is the only brave soul I could find who took this approach. Notice, he has no arguments as to why Dallas won. Just proclaims AD and Kyrie are going to be special together, and that's why. That's the reason. Flawed argument. You can't just proclaim that they're going to be special. Where is the scoring going to come from? Is Kyrie going to be able to score by himself? There just seems to be, in Dallas with the Mavericks, a big, gaping hole. In my gut, again, full gut, this is based on nothing, but my gut is Klay Thompson now feels like this was not what he signed up for. I wonder if we start hearing about him possibly getting traded at the deadline. But you look at the Lakers and just, what a move. I mean, I cannot get over how impactful this was for them. Luka is 25. LeBron is not getting any younger. And he's playing great. The Lakers just went from a 2-year window to a window that won't close for 15 years. Luka is going to spend the rest of his career in Los Angeles. He will get and he will also get a chance for the next 2 to 3 years to help LeBron catch MJ on the title chase. Then it becomes Luka's team. I mean, it's just sensational. Look, on a more zoomed-in approach, they still need a big man. Badly. The depth at 5 for them, the depth at center for them is ugly. Jackson Hayes is as good as it gets at center for them, and that's not really saying much. So are the Lakers now favorites in the West? I mean, I'm a little bit hesitant to proclaim that. I want to see how they gel. I want to see how they address their lack of size. Luka still is injured right now. He's not going to make his debut for another week or so. Maybe even more. It's a great first step. But they are still a piece or two away from being the real threat of the West. And the Mavs, yesterday in their first game in the post-Luka era PLE, they lost to the Cavs by 43 points. I mean, jeez. On the other hand, the Lakers, their game Saturday night before all this news went down, they had a dominant performance against the Knicks. And that was without Luka, without AD. Again, outlets have been reporting that they can expect him back in a week, and that will be interesting to see. That debut is going to be must-watch TV. Okay, let's move on. Wow. Not only did we get a Luka trade over the weekend, but we got another significant trade in the NBA. We spoke about it last week. We've been teasing it. But finally, last night, De'Aaron Fox was traded. And I just have to say, wow, wow, wow. Again. Shams tweeted, Sacramento is finalizing a trade to send De'Aaron Fox to the San Antonio Spurs in a multi-team trade that moves Chicago Bulls' Zach LaVine to the Kings, sources tell ESPN. Full trade. Spurs De'Aaron Fox, Jordan McLaughlin, Kings, Zach LaVine, City Sissoko. I can't print some of these bench guys that move in these trades. I just can't pronounce their names. Side point. 3 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks. Bulls get Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, their own 2025 pick via San Antonio. So they get their pick back. We spoke a lot about this last week. This is awesome for the Spurs. This was his preferred destination. So now they have Wemby, CP3, and De'Aaron Fox. And what's cool for them is they're again a destination. De'Aaron Fox, this was his requested trade spot. Not just, that's even more meaningful than your preferred spot as a free agent because you have no leverage you have very little leverage to choose where you go as a trade candidate. You have less leverage than you do as a free agent where you just get to choose where you want to go. Literally. You have less of a choice as a trade candidate. And when you're being traded, harder to force your way somewhere. So good for them. What's cool? They've had so much trouble figuring out their life post Tim Duncan, post Tony Parker. But here, I feel like yesterday was truly the day the next era came to life. It was born when the Spurs drafted Wemby last year, but the era began yesterday when they traded for Fox. Look, the Spurs are 4 games back of the 6th seed in the loss column in the West. Here they come. And the West reshuffling continues in the trade with Kings picking up Zach LaVine in the trade. I mean, I love that. Kings get rid of their superstar, but have a solid replacement for him in an effort to not blow up the entire thing. I mean, it's just insane how the Western Conference has changed in the past 2 days. Insane. Okay, let's move on. Wow, so much NBA action from yesterday. It was a weekend of trades. We got hockey news as well. Friday night, the Canucks finally found somewhere for JT Miller. We've been speaking about this for weeks, and what has been speculated finally came to fruition. They traded him to the Rangers in a return headlined by Philip Hedl. So the full trade was the Rangers got JT Miller, Alec Brandstrom, Jackson Dorrington. Canucks got Filipino, Victor Mancini, a 2025 first-round pick, and no salary was retained. And as we said, JT Miller, he was drafted by the Rangers, spent a nice portion of his career with the Rangers, and he comes home. He comes home back to the Rangers a different player than he left. He left a third liner. It's almost like he left a boy, came back a man. And you're watching the game. These last two games, he played in Boston on Saturday night. He played in New York last night. And you watch these games, and clearly he makes a difference. He's centering that first line. He had size. He had scoring ability. Scored 2 goals in his first game back. And they won last night. They beat the Golden Knights. Not too shabby of a win. Jonathan Quick gets his 400th win. Career. Pretty significant there. And so the Rangers now are trying to inch their way back in to the playoff conversation. And this is Chris Drury really trying to make very significant in-season pivots. Remember, they traded Trouba, they traded Kakko, they traded Filipino. Those are three of their top 2 line, 3 players from their top 2 lines offensively and defensively from last season, from their Eastern Conference Final run. Give Drury some credit here. He is doing some nice job reshuffling midseason. Talk about midseason reshuffling with the Lakers and the Mavs trade. Chris Drury in the NHL is doing another sort of Houdini act here, and we'll see if they can pull off the playoff run. But this was pretty impressive by him. Okay, let's move on. A couple more topics to talk about here. So, I was wondering how I want to talk about this. I mentioned on Friday's show the Pro Bowl. I spoke about the events that they had. It blows my mind how insignificant this event is to me, how insignificant this event is to the entire sports world. It has to be that the money is worth it for this. Otherwise, they need to have put this thing to bed already. I hope for their sake that they're not just continuing this for no reason, and that there's some money associated with it. There's a reason that they're doing it. This event has taken such a turn for the worst. I couldn't even bring myself to turning it on. I followed it through whatever I saw on NFL's Twitter account, on their X account. The product is horrible. That's the only way to put it. There's nothing entertaining about watching Sam Darnold toss a floater to Jamar Chase. That didn't happen. It was NFC, AFC. Toss a floater to Justin Jefferson that happens in the regular season. I don't know. Whatever. You get what I'm saying. You get my point. There is nothing entertaining about that. I think it was George Kittle, actually. He threw, George Kittle punted the ball into the stands. Whatever. There is nothing entertaining about watching that. Nobody wants to see it. Literally, nobody. And again, my take is the way to fix this is make it a kids event. This should be all about the kids. Have it on Disney. Have it on Nickelodeon. There is no need to have this on ESPN. So nix it from ESPN. Make an all-cast on Disney. Have a 1 o'clock start. Have the skills competition, the game all in a 2-hour stretch, and call it a day. And that's it. What they should do is you can have all the Pro Bowl selections count towards your legacy or history, right? So if Josh Allen got selected to the Pro Bowl this year, he's a Pro Bowler. Fine. Couldn't play, though. So we also have Pro Bowl selections. Russell Wilson ends up playing. Okay. Just, it needs to change. It's just horrible. Have Phineas and Ferb doing sideline reporting and call it a day. It's so crazy. NFC beat the AFC 76-63. with the skills competitions are added into it, I don't know. It's time, guys. It's time to cut it. Okay, let's move on. We had a significant late night signing last night in baseball. And so Jack Flaherty is returning to the Detroit Tigers. Jeff Passan tweeted, right-hander Jack Flaherty and the Detroit Tigers are in agreement on a 2-year, $35 million contract that includes an opt-out after the first season, sources tell ESPN. Jack Flaherty's deal will pay him $25 million this year, after which he can opt out. The guaranteed salary in 2026 is $10 million, and it can get as high as $20 million if he starts 15 games this season. Flaherty found a lot of success with the Tigers last year, and now he's back. Look, this is a great deal for the Tigers. Let's get that out of the way. They waited out the market, and they get their veteran player that they've been wanting all offseason. Now he's returning, so you have some sort of proof of concept here. The financials make a ton of sense. Short term, $25 million this year, so it's a lot. It's a nice amount up front. He's making a nice AAV this season. That could turn into a $20 million option for 2026. So it's ultimately what could be up to a 2-year, $45 million deal. The thing that I don't understand is, how did every other team not jump on this? All I've been talking about is, and all the teams have been talking about is how they will not commit to long-term deals. So you're telling me no other team could beat this? A 3rd year for Flaherty in a similar AAV? Man, what an odd offseason this has been. First, all these starting pitchers went for so much money. There was such a premium. And then Flaherty waits it out and is the odd man out. And good for the Tigers. They got him at a great deal. But where's every other team? At this money, at this term, where is every other team? How did Luis Severino get a better deal than Jack Flaherty? I simply do not understand. Now, I get it. These teams jumped on some of these mid-tier starting pitchers early, and they got overpaid. Frankie Montas is one of them. That's the one, as a Mets fan, that's been tossed around a lot. How is Jack Flaherty making the same amount of money as Frankie Montas? I'm with you. I don't. As a Mets fan, let's just say, I don't understand how the Mets did not make more of an effort to sign Jack Flaherty. There, I said it. Mets boy said it. This one I'm a little bit upset about. Now, I'm going to hold judgment. I think every team should hold judgment. No team should judge their offseason until opening day. That's my perspective on it. Anything can happen before opening day. This was such a slam dunk by the Tigers. Such a home run signing. And if they can go get Alex Bregman now, if they can close that up, it is an A-plus offseason in a division that is ripe for the taking. There is nobody in the AL Central right now that scares me. I mean, the Guardians are always going to be a threat. But the Tigers now need to double down. They didn't spend a lot on Flaherty, and they didn't commit a lot. Go get Alex Bregman. Make the AL Central your division. Don't let any other team win this division. Don't let it be the Royals. Don't let it be the Guardians. You have the resources. You have the capacity. Go get Bregman now. And again, I know it's like beating a dead horse, but there's such a need for starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. How is it that this was the deal Jack Flaherty got after all that's happened this offseason? It is absolutely insane to me that there wasn't even a bidding war for a short-term deal. It's crazy to me that he couldn't get 2 years, $50 million. $25 million AAV? How couldn't he get 2 years, $50 million from another team? That is truly, truly, truly what blows my mind. But great deal for the Tigers. And now there's basically two big free agent dominoes left to sign. That's Pete Alonso, Alex Bregman. And then we're about a week away, 2 weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting this was a very short offseason. But as football winds down, we're getting to the juicy part of the hockey season. We're getting to the juicy part of the basketball season. And baseball season is truly, truly upon us. Okay, that's a show. Make sure you're following on Spotify, subscribe, like, comment on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening. Have a spectacular day.